Elephant in the room before we start. While I did plan to take a break, I talked about it in a live stream how there was a lot of things going on in my life and YouTube wasn't helping, so I needed a break. I didn't plan on taking like 5 weeks off. I got the flu along the way. When it rains, it pours. I do want to say though, in the time that I took off, I had still been on social media. I did a couple live streams. I would pop into other people's live streams, and everybody really has been so sweet and supportive and kind in a way that I wasn't anticipating, and I really appreciate it because it really motivated me to want to come back and want to make videos and want to keep doing this. So if you are someone who sent me positive words along the way, thank you. I really appreciate it. But all of that aside, I do feel better. I feel emotionally better, physically better, and I'm excited to talk about some serious subjects and some makeup now and again back on this channel. So thank you guys for sticking with me. Hi guys, my name is Lacie of spookylipsandfathips, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I feel like because I put a gloss over a lipstick that my lips are like sticking to my teeth. What the fuck? I had planned for my first video back to be basically a commentary on all kinds of drama that happened while I was gone, and then I ended up just doing that on the Half Cousins podcast, so I'll link that episode down below. I also did a live stream talking specifically about the makeup geek Marlena, Stell, and Tina the Fancy Face drama, where I went through a timeline of events. Even though that drama's kind of closed now, for lack of a better word, I'll link that down below too if you're interested. I don't know, because I actually think that drama is relevant to this subject, and all of the drama that happened in the last month is relevant to this subject. If you're new to my channel, if you've been with me for a while, I like to talk about the bigger picture when drama that is significant enough kind of happens in the beauty community. Because while tea is interesting, and I would be lying to you if I said that I didn't like care about the tea when it happens, because I think that's just human nature. Typically what I care about more is the larger implications of situations and how they affect us as individuals, as consumers, as beauty lovers, as the beauty community. One thing that I've noticed through every recent controversy in my absence is that we can almost always tie it back to the idea of the way brand owners present themselves on social media and why we need to be very critical of brand owners on social media. I think we all can agree that most traditional marketing doesn't have the same effect as being sold a product through social media in certain ways. I know for me, when I'm watching like Hulu, because I don't have Hulu Plus, I just have Hulu, and an ad pops on, I tune out. I could really give a shit about what's being delivered to me in an ad. I don't care about radio station ads. I flip through the channels just to get to a station that's just playing music. When I still had cable and a commercial would come on, I would just switch to another channel. I'm not receptive to traditional forms of advertising. I think most people aren't, because it is literally somebody trying to sell you stuff, and I feel like we tend to reject the feeling of being sold to. But social media has kind of fucked that up a little bit, because I think, speaking about influencers and beauty influencers specifically, it didn't start off as people trying to sell anything. Brands just realized really quickly that parasocial relationships were a great thing to capitalize off of. Parasocial relationships are the term used to describe like the kind of relationship you have in your head that you develop for people that you watch. It could be celebrities, musicians, people on YouTube, where it's a one-sided relationship. You know that that person exists, but they don't know that you exist, and you develop kind of a friendship with them in your head, so to speak. And there have been serious cases of parasocial relationships where people convince themselves that they're married to like certain people, and then like there's just the harmless kind of like, as an example, I think I'm best friends with Raw Beauty Christie in my head, like some like silly stuff like that, like the feeling of, oh, we have a lot in common, and maybe in a different world where we could be friends, like we might know each other in a different timeline and we could be friends in that timeline. Or just like being invested in somebody, wanting them to get better. You know how it goes. Before YouTube became or any social media became a career that you could achieve or strive to achieve. Just normal people in their houses like I am, talking to people, wanting to connect with people, building those kinds of parasocial relationships with people over a shared interest. There's a level of trust that gets built. Whereas with me, for instance, because I'm not like the biggest channel ever, I don't have codes really for anybody, I'm not on anyone's PR list really. When I talk to you about a product, it means that I bought it with my own money most likely, and I'm talking to you honestly about my experience, and you build up that trust. It almost in a way is me selling you on something, but we don't view it that way because of friends in our own lives. We're like, hey, I really like this product, I think you should try it. You would trust them because there's no invested interest in you doing the thing, if that makes sense. This is a history lesson we all already know, but that's what's led to some shady dealings, taking advantage of that trust, moldy lipsticks, just people really realizing that they could capitalize off of that trust, because it's not like when a corporation puts up a Pepsi ad, it's your friend telling you that they like a lipstick and you should try it. Brands have realized this. Brands have realized that they can't rely on traditional marketing the way that they used to, and that this new wave of trust that they can build with influencers is the way to go. And I think that's what's pushed a lot of brands in themselves to have such a strong social media presence and kind of almost develop a brand personality. And when I say that, think about the makeup brands that come to mind that like post relatable memes on Instagram, and like even like the Wendy's account on Twitter that claps back, so to speak, and you know what I mean? They're developing personalities for brands so that you're feeling that same kind of relationship develop with them, even if there isn't a face, so to speak, to go with it. This is also why I think it's getting harder to criticize brands, and it's getting harder to criticize products as like a beauty channel, because people come to brands' defenses because they have relationships with those brands. And I feel like that's very deliberate on the brand's part to develop a relationship like that so that you cannot be criticized. But that maybe is a whole different video. There's also the flip side of brand owners either wanting to present themselves as influencers or already being influencers before they start their brands, but either way just having their presence known, that they're the face behind a brand, which helps you separate something as being like this big corporation that's so distant, that's unapproachable, unobtainable, not so much of like a scary corporate monster as it is, oh, it's a face and a name and a personality, and it's more like I'm friends with someone, and it develops that same parasocial relationship as an influencer might. This is where we get into all of the drama, all of the bullshit, all of the craziness that has happened this month, and that's like happened before this month. It's not like any of this is new. Brand owners on social media is just such a weird phenomena to me. I feel like on the one hand, a lot of people appreciate knowing where their products come from, because we live in this crazy capitalist system where we feel like we're helpless most of the time. And we've talked about these kind of themes on my channel time and time again. So it almost makes us feel like we're doing business with a mom and pop store, even if it's a giant Estee Lauder owned brand. It makes us feel more empathy towards people, and it makes us feel more emotionally invested in supporting certain brands, even though if you never shopped from them tomorrow as an individual, they would still be fine because they have that many resources and that much power. It kind of nullifies a lot of the preconceived notions about big business and the like context around big business. There's a very much a political aspect around big business, especially in America. I can really only speak for America because that's where I live. It kind of builds a trust back. It makes you think a brand's not going to prey on you because look, they're sharing photos of their dog on social media and tweeting their honest thoughts on Twitter, and oh, they might have responded to me at one time. How exciting, it's a real person and it's not just some evil monster. On the flip side, when brand owners who have made themselves so public fuck up, there's also this element of, oh, but they're a person and everybody messes up, so we should forgive them. So in a way, it's almost also a strategic way to humanize mistakes that could sink brands otherwise. With that becomes just a whole slew of problems and a lot of unprofessionalism that I feel like, on the one hand, isn't it so great that this brand owner is so relatable and they're just like me, but then on the other hand, they need to be held to a higher standard than just I would be expected to be on social media. I think a good example of this is obviously Jeffree Star, and while there are 8,000,001 reasons why we could criticize Jeffree Star, one of the things that has popped up recently with like the mystery boxes that he does is that he's not very kind to the people who are giving him money on social media. There's almost like memes about his followers getting blocked for voicing their honest opinions, whereas brands that don't have that figurehead kind of front and center on social media don't have that problem. They have people that are hired to run their social media pages, so when you get comments that are like, I hate you, you effed up my order, they can deliver a very professional response of, we're so sorry, give us your order number, we'll DM you, sorry to hear about your experience. But a brand owner on social media with no PR training, with no filter, with no team trained to handle complaints like that is going to react emotionally, and we see that with Jeffree Star time and time again, him just lashing out at people. And it's so weird to me that people would continue to want to support him after seeing stuff like that, but you could do whatever you want with your money. But it just, to me, if someone that I truly loved and had been financially supporting as someone with like so little money to spend in the first place, and I'm choosing to give you part of that money, if you're then going to lash out at me, I in my head would want to stop supporting that person. But sometimes it doesn't seem to be the case with Jeffree Star. There's also been criticisms about Chi Chi, who is the owner of Juvia's Place, and the way that she communicates with influencers, that they've communicated with customers, her kind of going off on Jackie Aina on her Twitter, making some things about Jackie Aina public that didn't need to be. I personally critique Juvia's Place for the way that they partner with drama channels. I think that that's a little weird personally, but you can think whatever you want. I think another brand owner on social media that is definitely being critiqued currently and has been worthy of critique in the past is Jerrod Blandino of Too Faced. Not only was there the infamous Rich Lives Matter cake, which an incident like that, when you're so public on social media, is almost bound to happen at one point, I feel like, unless you're just not doing shady things to begin with, which is what we should all be striving for. But if you're going to post all of your antics on social media and open yourself up to criticism, there runs the risk of there being like the mistake, the boo-boo of your tone-deaf fucking Rich Lives Matter cake being featured on social media, and then you having to live with that for the rest of your existence as a brand owner, because once it's on the internet, it's forever. With Too Faced, it's not only Jerrod that has been criticized as a public brand owner, but now his sister, Lisa Blandino, who has really upset a lot of the beauty community, myself included, by calling Nikkie Tutorials a liar, basically, about Nikkie coming out. And what happened, if you don't know, is Nikkie Tutorials came out as being a transgender woman. I talk about all of this on the podcast. And then because Too Faced has had issues with Nikkie in the past about the information she made public about their collab, Lisa Blandino, as the sister of Jerrod, made her Instagram bio transgender, that's not the only thing she's been lying about, and people freaked, and there were mass calls to boycott Too Faced, and I personally went on my Twitter and started listing off dupes for the last remaining Too Faced products that I liked, and lo and behold, Jerrod had to make a statement on his Instagram, even though he did it in his Instagram stories, which means that it went away in 24 hours anyway. Basically saying that they had let his sister go from the company because I believe she did marketing or something, question mark, for Too Faced, who knows. But it tainted Too Faced because she had so publicly made herself known as being affiliated with the brand, working for the brand, and as the sister of Jerrod. So now it's not even so much just brand owners, it's even extended to who they associate with can make or break your relationship with your fans on social media when you choose to have that kind of a presence. Kat Von D is another great example. She, I guess, not so much as an influencer, she was a traditional celebrity who became an influencer and started her own brand and has now infamously sunk her brand. And I've had people, like, not too many people, because I think the majority of people can grasp, like, why everybody was mad at Kat Von D and why they were boycotting her. It's not just that she chose to go on her social media and spew anti-vax bullshit, but she also has had a history of anti-Semitism, and at the very least, if not direct anti-Semitism, of strong dog whistling. And a lot of people just had it and didn't want to support her anymore, and now she has come forward after not only selling her shares of the brand, which don't even get me started on the whole kendo vegan beauty fiasco. She has now done an interview where she's blaming influencers for basically kicking her out of the beauty community, in her words, and not taking ownership of the fact that when you're a brand owner and you want to word vomit all of your thoughts on social media like the rest of us, that can have serious consequences. And it wasn't other people that are to blame for that. It's you. You did those things. You said those things. You have to take ownership over that. And that brings us also to this idea of separate the brand owner from the brand, which I argue that in most instances you can't, unless that person is also making the efforts to separate themselves from their brand. So someone like Jerrod, Blandino, even like Norvina of ABH, even now Marlena, Stell of Makeup Geek, because I'll get into that. There are people who have really pushed that them and their brands are the same. They've made no effort to separate themselves from their brand. If anything, the opposite, especially with someone like Marlena, let's say. You know that Marlena Stell means Makeup Geek and Makeup Geek means Marlena Stell. She puts Makeup Geek videos on her own personal channel. And pretty much everyone I've described in this video, maybe minus like Chi of Juvia's Plays, has really made themselves synonymous with their own brand. Especially Jeffree Star Cosmetics, Kat Von D. Like, those are people who literally named their brands after themselves. So it's really even that extra step harder to separate them from their brand. I don't want to rehash the Tina and Makeup Geek drama more than I have to, out of respect for Tina, because Tina wants, and Marlena both, want to put this whole thing to rest. But using that as an example, if you don't know about the drama, by the way, I will link my live stream down below. But Marlena had falsely copyright struck one of Tina's videos, and the reasoning she gave was that Makeup Geek is a copywritten or a trademark, one or the other, name, and she didn't want Tina to use that name in the title, because if Tina had an issue with her, she wanted it to stay about her, not her brand. I would argue that Marlena, to an extent, doesn't really get that right, because she's always made herself synonymous with Makeup Geek, like I said. We've always known that if you get one, you get the other. It's not like, I don't personally know who, I'm looking around for makeup right now. I don't personally know who owns the brand Essence. I'm wearing Essence Make Me Brow in my eyebrows. I cannot tell you who fucking owns that brand, which I'm sure some brands do strategically so these kind of scenarios never happen. So if that person, whoever owns it in the world, messes up, it might be easier for us to disassociate Essence as a brand with that person, because it hasn't been so shoved down our throats and so just stressed through all of their social media antics. Even like Norvina of ABH, there's Norvina palettes. There's a whole Norvina line now. If Norvina were to do something crazy messed up, that would definitely impact ABH as a brand, because she's worked so hard to establish herself as the face of ABH. I would argue that Marlena has done the same, that all of these brand owners have really done the same. So what's the life lesson? What's the bigger picture? Number one, I think it's for us as consumers to be wary of those parasocial relationships that brands and brand owners are developing, because it's being done strategically. It's being done so that we will feel the need to go to bat for them when other people have legitimate criticisms. When we criticize brands, when we criticize stuff, we're allowed to do that. we're well within our right as consumers, and even if we're not directly consuming, you know what I mean? Like, we're within our right to criticize stuff. Stuff doesn't have feelings. Brands aren't people. Brand owners are people, but brands aren't people. Even like if you're not someone like me who is fairly anti-capitalist, if you are a capitalist, in theory, that would breed, like, competition and criticism like that would breed better products, you would think, in theory, but this isn't like a political system kind of video. I'm not gonna give my college level dissertation on this, but like, we talk about gimmicks all the time, marketing gimmicks, like stupid things like putting the same product that's always existed in new packaging so you'll be tempted to buy it, not disclosing affiliate codes, all of the above. I would argue that brand owner parasocial relationships and brand personality parasocial relationships are another kind of marketing tactic that we need to be aware of. Not so much so we'll avoid it altogether, because I know personally, especially even with indie brands, I do like to know where my makeup comes from. I do like to know who I'm supporting. It helps me feel like I'm making ethical decisions, but that goes into the whole argument of like, is there ethical consumption of their capitalism? Again, that's a different video. So I do feel like it's a double-edged sword in that way, because on the one hand, it benefits brands when you do make yourself known as who is behind the brand, who's the face, but it also can really kick you in the ass if you mess up. And I guess the argument there is to not mess up at all. But more importantly, when brands and brand owners do mess up, as consumers, don't feel the need to go to bat for them. Don't feel the need to blindly defend them, because they're not your friends. It's all business, baby. So that's kind of my takeaway from all of the drama is brand owners need to be hiring maybe PR teams and having their social media accounts run by people who are trained to deal with outraged customers. And, you know, even like with influencers, George and I on the podcast all the time talk about media training and how so many of these larger influencers probably should invest in some media training. Side note, every time I make a video about criticizing marketing tactics specifically, I will get at least one comment of somebody being like, well, actually, I'm an adult and I'm smart and I don't fall for this shit and I still make my own decisions and you're stupid and cynical and blah, blah, blah. There are people who spend their whole lives training themselves to sell the best ways they can. There are people who study all of the ways that brains can be manipulated into spending within legal confines. When I was getting my sociology and anthropology degree, I took some classes about applied anthropology, and there was kind of this push by my program director for Soc Anth students to consider applying their degrees basically in terms almost like marketing, but large companies will hire sociologists and anthropologists to figure out how they can best reach certain audiences, and it is like a type of marketing. I had people in my degree program who were also simultaneously getting marketing degrees for that reason. There are people who study the psychology of how to manipulate people into spending money. It's always existed back when like advertisements were posters and drive-in movie ads, and all the way to now when it's favorites videos with undisclosed sponsorships. Like, there's all these ways that people are constantly teaching themselves every day how they can manipulate other people into spending money. So when I make these videos, it's so that we can all be aware, we can all be smarter. It's not to stop everybody from shopping altogether. We all know that I shop all the time. It's so that we can all just be critical shoppers and not let these big businesses get one over on us. Does that make sense? I don't know, just some food for thought. Do you like when your brand owners are influencers themselves and are visible on social media and vocal on social media? Are you like me and it's kind of like, on the one hand, I kind of like it, but on the other hand, I would rather you just be professional and shut up and I just make some cool products. I don't need to know about everything you feel. That might be harsh. Sorry. Like I also referenced, I do think there's an element of strategy as well to developing relationships with brands as a way of protecting brands from criticism. So when I get on camera and say I hate your favorite lipstick, it feels more like a personal attack, because it feels more like I'm saying, one, that I hate something about you, or two, that I hate something that you love. And I know when like my loved ones are attacked, for instance, even my friends, I see red. Like, you can call me a fat, stupid, ugly bitch all you want, but if you go for my friends, I'm coming for you. So like, I think there is an element of that too, but that's just me. This was a little rambly, but I would love to hear your thoughts down below. If you like this video, if you like these kinds of bigger picture-esque videos, and if you like me, please hit like and subscribe. You can also follow me on my Instagram, which is also spookylipsandfathips, or my Twitter at spookylacey. You can listen to me weekly on the Half Cousins podcast. All of that will be linked down below. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on this subject, but other than that, that is all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys!